Hello to all my learners. Today we are going to start this chapter, the 100 Races Part 1. There are some more chapters before this, for which I'll be creating my and posting my videos later on. But today we are starting with this chapter. The name of the chapter is The 100 Races Part 1 by Eleanor East. So, by the title itself, a lot of curiosity might have already gone through your mind, and also a kind of hint that this chapter is going to be about 100 races. But trust me, when you read the chapter for the first time and the way the story starts, it is very difficult to tell what these 100 races actually mean. So let us start. Now, before you read section is one of the most important section of any story, so please go through it once. It says, how do we judge the people around us by their money, wealth, and possessions? Or is there something of more enduring value to look for in a person? So this is absolutely true. If as you might have seen in many movies also, we usually judge the person by the kind of uniform dress they are wearing, by the kind of lifestyle they have, the amount of money they have, and we hardly look for more important values like the way of talking, behavior, and all these properties that actually uh, is the identity of a person. So we look for materialistic things. The story is a sensitive account of how a poor young girl is judged by her classmates. आजकल एक बहुत मीम भी चल रहा है, जज मी ओनली इफ़ यू आर परफेक्ट, यानी अगर आप परफेक्ट हैं तभी मुझे जज करें. सो इन दिस वर्ल्ड नो वन इज़ परफेक्ट एंड देयर फोर नो वन हैज़ द राइट टू जज, but it's a part of human behavior. We end up judging everyone, but try to avoid this behavior as much as possible. So we already have a hint of this chapter that we are going to know about a poor young girl, and Wanda Petronsky is a young Polish girl who goes to school with her American children in an American town. The other children see Wanda as different in many ways. Can you guess how they treat her? So we'll find out in the chapter how is she being treated by her classmates. Read the information in the box below. Find out more about this community or about a related topic from an encyclopedia or the internet. So you can search more about it, but let us first read what is mentioned in the chapter. The Polish American community in the United States. The first Polish immigrants arrived in America in 1608. So you might have heard the term immigrants and immigrants. So immigrants, they come from another country to your country, and if you go from here to outside, then you are immigrants. If someone comes to your country, you're immigrants. So for America, Polish were immigrants, and they came in 1608, so around in the beginning of 17th century. But the largest wave of Polish immigration occurred in the early 20th century, when more than 1 million means 10 lakh Polish people, Poles migrated to the United States. The Polish state did not exist at that time, and the immigrants were identified according to their country of origin rather than to ethnicity. They were identified as Russian Poles, German Poles, and Austrian Poles. So you can see from the uh, they used to see the origin of their they used to see the country from which they belong. So suppose they are coming from Russia, they were called Russian Poles. If they are coming from Germany, they were called German Poles. And if they were coming from Austria, they were called Austrian Poles. One of the most notable Polish American communities is in Chicago and its suburbs. So Chicago is sometimes called the second largest Polish city in the world, next only to Warsaw. So some kind of general knowledge also you are getting from here. Uh, Now see, Warsaw is the capital of Poland, so obviously it will have the Polish people. But Chicago is the second largest Polish city in the world apart from its own place. Polish Americans were sometimes discriminated against in the United States, as were the Irish, Italians, and Jews. So this discrimination you might have heard at a lot of places. Usually people go through it, which is illegal and also not uh, Correct. Humanity wise, we should never discriminate anyone on the basis of any difference. In fact, in class ninth, you might have read this poem, No Men Are Foreign. So that's a very amazing poem, and that rules out discrimination because no men are foreign. According to the United States 2000 census, 6,67,414 Americans of age 5 years and older reported Polish as the language spoken at home, which is about 1.4% of the people who speak languages other than English, or 0.25% of the US populations. So you can see this is a background information for the chapter that you are going to read. What was the population or what was the presence of Polish people in America? Let us start the chapter now. Today, Monday, Wanda Petronsky was not in her seat, but nobody, not even Peggy and Madeline, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. Usually, Wanda sat in the seat next to the last seat in the last row in a room 13. She sat in the corner of the room where the rough boys who did not make good marks sat, the corner of the room where there was most scuffling of feet, most roars of laughter when anything funny was said, and most mud and dirt on the floor. So, with the first paragraph itself, you might have realized a lot of similarity between your class and this paragraph. अभी कोरोना है तो आप ऑब्वियसली आप स्कूल में नहीं हैं, बट जब आप स्कूल में थे देर इज़ ऑलवेज अ बंच ऑफ or a group of boys and girls who keep laughing all the time, who make noise, who do different stuff in the classroom, which is often noisy and a lot of disturbance for the classroom, but also that adds up to the energy of the classroom. होता है लेकिन एकदम एक्सट्रीम नहीं होना चाहिए. दिस इज़ अ पार्ट ऑफ स्कूल लाइफ जिस जो हमें याद भी रहता है, बट एकदम एक्सट्रीम नहीं होना चाहिए जिससे टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस डिसरप्ट हो या फिर दूसरे स्टूडेंट्स या टीचर्स को उसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट हो या हर्ट हो. तो इतना भी एक्सट्रीम नहीं होना चाहिए, बट दिस गोज़ ऑन एवरीवेयर एंड सिमिलरली वी कैन सी and get to know where Wanda used to sit and what kind of atmosphere was there in the classroom. But today, Monday, she is not there, and basically no one is noticing it. Wanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all. Now, the uh, we can say the contrast or the opposite thing is this, that a calm person was sitting in the midst of noisy children. Okay, she did not make any noise, or she was not that rough or produce any such noise in the classroom. She was very calm. She was very quiet and rarely said anything at all, and nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of smile, but that was all. We all have such faces in our classroom, and that's okay. We have extrovert kind of people, we have introvert kind of people. Introvert are those people who don't speak a lot, who usually love to be peaceful and silent, and they hardly speak anything because they have their own world, and that's okay, and that must be acceptable to all. Nobody knew exactly why Wanda sat in that seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Boggins Heights and her feet were usually caked with dry mud. But no one really thought much about Wanda Petronsky once she sat in the corner of the room. The time when they thought about Wanda was outside of school hours, at noontime, when they were coming back to school, or in the morning early before school began, when groups of two or three or even more would be talking and laughing on their way to the schoolyard. So basically, she was a joke for other children. You can see no one paid attention to her, no one cared about her, but they found ways to make fun of her. Then sometimes they waited for Wanda to have fun with her. The next day, Tuesday, Wanda was not in school either, and nobody noticed her absence again. So this is the second day when she is absent, and no one cares about it. But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat down front with other children who got good marks and who did not track in a whole lot of mud, did notice that Wanda wasn't there. Peggy was the most popular girl in school. So this is the popular faces. We also have popular faces in our school. Obviously, you must be having two. So Peggy was one of the girls who was the most popular in the school. She was pretty. She had many pretty clothes and her hair was curly. Maddie was her closest friend. The reason Peggy and Maddie noticed Wanda's absence was because Wanda had made them late to school. They had waited and waited for Wanda to have some fun with her, and she just had not come. They often waited for Wanda Petronsky to have fun with her. Let us go through the oral comprehension check questions quickly. This is a part of your comprehension skills, and you should be able to answer them quickly. Where in the classroom does Wanda sit and why? She used to sit in a corner where all the noisy boys used to sit, and maybe because she comes from Boggin Heights and her shoes are full of mud, and therefore she sits silently in that corner of the class. Where does Wanda live? So it is already mentioned that she was living in Boggin Heights. What kind of a place do you think it is? Because it is already mentioned that she's coming from a place which is quite muddy, so it is clear that no proper roads and other things are made there. When and why do Peggy and Maddie notice Wanda's absence? They notice it on Wednesday because they come to know that they were late because of her on that day. What do you think to have fun with her means? To have fun with her means आपने देखा होगा तीन लोगों के दोस्त जब भी होते हैं तो एक ना एक टारगेट बनता रहता है आपस के जोक बनने के लिए. ऐसा होता है, ऑब्वियसली होता है. तो तीन लोगों का जब भी ग्रुप होता है तो एक कैरेक्टर हम हमेशा उठा लेते हैं. नॉट इन दैट वे, बट आपस दोस्ती में, जिसके साथ हम ऑफन मजाक करते रहते हैं उसके रिप्लाईज की वजह से. तो वांडा वॉज वन ऑफ द थ्री. Wanda Petronsky. Most of the children in room 13 did not have names like that. They had names easy to say, like Thomas, Smith, or Alan. There was one boy named Bounce, Willie Bounce, and people thought that was funny, but not funny in the same way that Petronsky was. तो सभी बच्चों को उसका नाम जो था वो काफ़ी फ़नी लगता था, वांडा पेट्रॉन्स्की. ठीक है, तो ये एक रीज़न था कि other students used to talk about her. Wanda did not have any friends. That was obvious, okay? When she did not speak much to anyone, this is obvious that such people don't have many friends because they have a world of their own, I have already told you. She came to school alone and went home alone. She always wore a faded blue dress that did not hang right. It was clean, but it looked as though it had never been ironed properly. She did not have any friends, but a lot of girls talked to her. Sometimes they surrounded her in the schoolyard as she stood watching the little girls play hopscotch on the worn hard ground. So, what is hopscotch? It's a game in which children hop into and over squares marked on the ground. आपने सुना होगा एक गैलरी कल के गेम होती थी, बड़ा मज़ा आता था उसे खेलने में. और स्क्वायर्स की एक और गेम होती है जिसमें हम एक स्टोन को वो करते हैं. तो इस काइंड ऑफ सच गेम्स दे वर प्लेइंग, and girls usually surround her. You can see the expressions in the picture. Look at these three girls smiling and laughing, and look at Wanda. She's from the body language itself, you can see that she's very calm, peaceful, and she's not even replying or responding to their comments. Wanda, Peggy would say in a most courteous manner, as though she were talking to um, Miss Mason. Wanda, she would say, giving one of her friends a nudge. Tell us, how many dresses did you say you had hanging up in your closet? 100, Wanda would say. 100? Exclaimed all the little girls incredulously because they were not willing to believe, and it was obvious now because she was wearing the same dress every day. अगर उसके पास 100 ड्रेसेस होती तो वो सेम ड्रेस पहन के क्यों आ रही है रोज़. तो इट बिकेम अ टॉपिक ऑफ लाफ्टर फॉर एवरीवन, and the little ones would stop playing hopscotch and listen. Yeah, 100, all lined up, said Wanda. Then her thin lips drew together in silence. What are they like? All silk, I bet, said Peggy. Yeah, all silk, all colors. Velvet too? Yeah, velvet too. 100 dresses. Wanda would repeat stolidly. Stolidly means not showing any feeling. Learn this new word, stolidly. All lined up in my closet. Then they would let her go. And then, before she would go on very far, they could not help bursting into shrieks and peals of laughter. 100 dresses. Obviously, the only dress Wanda had was the blue one she wore every day. So, why did she say she had 100? What a story! So, we are coming close to the title of the chapter, 100 dresses. How many shoes did you say you had? 60 pairs, all lined up in my closet. Cries of exaggerated politeness greeted this. All alike? Oh no, every pair is different. All colors, all lined up. Peggy, who had thought up this game, and Maddie, her inseparable friend, were always the last to leave. Finally, Wanda would move up the street, her eyes dull and her mouth closed, hitching her left shoulder every now and then in the funny way she had, finishing the walk to school alone. Peggy was not really cruel. She protected. Now, this is the another kind of description we get about Peggy. So this is important to understand. She protected small children from bullies, and cried for hours if she saw an animal mistreated. It means she was not bad from inside. They'll say she was not that bad. If anybody had said to her, "Don't you think that's a cruel way to treat Wanda?" she would have been very surprised. Cruel? Why did the girl say she had 100 dresses? Anybody could tell that was a lie. Why did she want to lie? And she wasn't just an ordinary person. Else, why did she have a name like that? Anyway, they never made her cry. As for Maddie, this business of asking Wanda every day how many dresses and how many hats and how many this and that she had was bothering her. Maddie was poor herself. She usually wore somebody's hand-me-down clothes. Thank goodness she did not live up in on Bogan's Heights or have a funny name. अब यहाँ पे मेडी जो है वो भी एक लो प्रोफाइल घर से आती है, पुअर फैमिली से आती है, तो उसे लगता है कि एवरी वन इज़ मेकिंग फन ऑफ वांडा, तो हो सकता है कल को ये लोग मेरा भी मजाक मजाक उड़ाएं. तो शी डिड नॉट वांट शी डिड नॉट लाइक व्हेन दे treated they treated Wanda in this way. Sometimes when Peggy was asking Wanda those questions in that mocking polite voice, Maddie felt embarrassed and studied the marbles in the palm of her hand, rolling them around and saying nothing herself. Not that she felt sorry for Wanda, exactly. She would never have paid any attention to Wanda if Peggy had not invented the dresses game. But suppose Peggy and all the others started is on her next. She wasn't as poor as Wanda, perhaps, but she was poor. Of course, she would have more sense than to say she had 100 dresses. Still, she would not like for them to begin on her. She wished Peggy would stop teasing Wanda Petronsky. Sophie felt ashamed, and the problem is she felt that she is not. Basically, they were making fun of Wanda because ये तो सबको पता था शी इज़ कमिंग फ्रॉम अ पुअर फैमिली, तो उन्हें लगता था कि जब वो पुअर फैमिली से आती है, then why is she replying in such ways that I have 100 dresses, I have 60 pair of shoes? इस तरीके से वो क्यों रिप्लाई कर रही है? तो शायद कहीं ना कहीं इस वजह से वो थोड़ा इरिटेटेड फील करते थे और इसीलिए क्वेश्चंस बार बार पूछते थे. खैर मेडी ऐसा रिप्लाई नहीं करती थी. शी थॉट दैट शी इज़ सेन इनफ. बट हमारा व्यू पॉइंट, मैंने इसलिए कहा ना, चैप्टर का नाम बहुत क्लियरली पॉइंट आउट करता है किस बारे में है. बट अनलेस वी गेट टू द नियर रियल स्टोरी वी विल नॉट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इट एक्चुअली मीन्स. In what way was Wanda different from the other children? She was quiet, and she did not respond or replied back, and she was lost into her own world. Did Wanda have 100 dresses? We don't know whether she had or not, but she claimed. Why do you think she said she did? Maybe till this point of time, if you ask me, maybe because she, other people might be feeling this, that she is ashamed of or she is embarrassed of being poor, so she might reply these things to hide it. Why is Maddie embarrassed by the questions Peggy asked Wanda? Is she also like Wanda or is she different? Peggy thinks so because Peggy thinks such questions would not start coming to her. So when she becomes insecure about herself, then she thinks that maybe. But thinks that she is different from Wanda. She would never say such things that she has 100 dresses or anything. But she was insecure that one day people will start making fun of her too. Today, even though they had been late to school, Maddie was glad she had not had to make fun of Wanda. She worked her arithmetic problems absent mindedly. 8 times 8, let's see. She wished she had the nerve to write Peggy a note because she knew she never would have the courage to speak right out to Peggy to say, "Hey Peg, let's stop asking Wanda how many dresses she has." When she finished her arithmetic, she did start a note to Peggy. Suddenly, she paused and shuddered. She pictured herself in the schoolyard, a new target for Peggy and the girls. So she thought, if she points out this thing, तो शायद उन लोगों का जो टारगेट है वो वांडा से हट करके उस पे आ जाएगा. तो she shook with this idea, with this thought, and she, I think, stopped writing the note. Peggy might ask her where she got the dress that she had on, and Maddie would have to say it was one of Peggy's old ones that Maddie's mother had tried to disguise with new trimmings so no one in room 13 would recognize it. If only Peggy would decide of her own accord to stop having fun with Wanda. Oh well, Maddie ran her hand through her short blonde hair as though to push the uncomfortable thoughts away. What difference did it make? Slowly, Maddie tore into it bits the note she had started. So basically, she started on a positive note, but later on she tore it off. She was Peggy's best friend, and Peggy was the best liked girl in the whole room. Peggy could not possibly do anything that was really wrong, she thought. And later on, she curves her thoughts and brings to a conclusion that Peggy कभी भी ऐसा गलत नहीं कर सकती. Peggy कभी गलत हो ही नहीं सकती. As for Vanda, she was just some girl who lived up on Boggins Heights and stood alone in the school yard. She scarcely ever said anything to anybody. The only time she talked was in the schoolyard about her 100 dresses. Maddie remembered her telling about one of her dresses, pale blue with colored trimmings, and she remembered another that was brilliant jungle green with the red shafts. You would look like a Christmas tree in that, the girls had said in a pretended admiration. Pretended means fake, false, not real. Thinking about Wanda and her 100 dresses all lined up in the closet, Maddie began to wonder who was going to win the drawing and coloring contest. For girls, this contest consisted of designing dresses, and for boys, of designing motorboats. काफ़ी क्लिशेड आइडिया है और काफ़ी स्टीरियोटिपिकल आइडिया है. बॉयज़ को मोटरबोट्स बनाने के लिए दिया है और गर्ल्स को ड्रेसेस बनाने के लिए दी हैं. Probably Peggy would win the girls' medal. Peggy drew better than anyone else in the room, so everyone thought Peggy is going to win the competition. At least that's what everybody thought. She could copy a picture in a magazine or some film star's head so that you could almost tell who it was. Oh, Maddie was sure Peggy would win. Well, tomorrow the teacher was going to announce the winners, then they would know. The next day it was drizzling as light rain. Maddie and Peggy hurried to school under Peggy's umbrella. Naturally, on a day like this, they did not wait for Wanda Petronsky on the corner of Oliver Street, the street that far away under the railroad tracks and up the hill led to Boggins Heights. So every day they would like to wait for Wanda, but today they are not trying to wait for her because today is the result day and everyone is excited. जैसे टीचर आपको कई बार बोलता होगा कि नेक्स्ट क्लास में आपका मार्क्स पता चलेंगे, तो आप सब लोग एक्साइटेड होते हैं ना कि आज मार्क्स पता चलेंगे. सिमिलरली दे आर ऑल्सो एक्साइटेड एंड दे डोंट वांट टू वेस्ट टाइम वेटिंग फॉर वांडा, क्योंकि वेट करते करते कई बार वो लेट हो जाते हैं. सो दे रश टू स्कूल एंड टू नोट द रिजल्ट्स ऑफ द पेंटिंग कॉम्पिटिशन. Anyway, they were not taking chances on being late today because today was important. Do you think Miss Mason will announce the winners today? Asked Peggy. Oh, I hope so. The minute we get in, said Maddie. Of course, you will win, Peg. Hope so, said Peggy eagerly. The minute they entered the room, they stopped short and gasped. There were drawings all over the room, on every ledge and windowsill, dazzling colors and brilliant, lavish designs, all drawn on great sheets of wrapping paper. There must have been 100 of them, all lined up. There must be the drawings for the contest. They were. Everybody stopped and whistled or murmured admiringly. As soon as the class had assembled, I think by now you all have started getting the hint what it actually meant. As soon as the class had assembled, Miss Mason announced the winners. Jack Biggles had won for the boys, she said, and his design for an outboard motor was an won and was on exhibition in room 12 along with the sketches by all the other boys. As for the girls, she said, although just one or two sketches were submitted by most, one girl and room 13 should be proud of her. This one girl actually drew 100 designs, all different and all beautiful. In the opinion of the judges, any one of the drawings is worthy of winning the prize. I am very happy to say that Wanda Petronsky is the winner of the girls' medal. So here are two things. Most of the girls they submitted only two or three drawings, but Wanda Petronsky made 100 different dresses, and what judge said was every dress was capable of winning the prize. So if we go to the beginning of the chapter where it said how do you judge people, all your judgments will break down now, because if we look at the behavior of Wanda Petronsky and we look at the kind of dress she wore, the kind of place she came from, is not related to the kind of talent she had in her. So, uh, everyone made fun of her and everyone made fun of her answer. But now everyone must be shocked and surprised to know that Wanda Petronsky, what she actually meant when she said that she made all the dresses. She had 100 dresses, and many of them have been made here. Unfortunately, Wanda has been absent from school for some days and is not here to receive the applause that is due to her. Let us hope she will be back tomorrow. Now, class, you may file around the room quietly and look at her exquisite drawings. The children burst into applause, and even the boys were glad to have a chance to stamp on the floor, put their fingers in their mouths, and whistle, though they were not interested in dresses. Look, Peg, whispered Maddie. There's that blue one she told us about. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, said Peggy. And here's that green one, boy. And I thought I could draw. Oral comprehension check. Why didn't Maddie ask Peggy to stop teasing Wanda? I told you that she was insecure. She felt like she would become the next target if she did this. And she curves her thoughts and comes to a conclusion that Peggy will never do anything wrong like that. What was she afraid of? As I told you, she was afraid that she will become the victim, next victim. Who did Maddie think would win the drawing contest and why? Maddie was sure that Peggy would win because Peggy was quite good at drawing. Who won the drawing contest? So we have uh, the winner, Wanda Petronsky, and she had drawn 100 different kinds of dresses, and each dress was capable of winning the prize. See, it is clear that we are having part 2 of this chapter because we have still not come to a conclusion क्योंकि हमें नहीं पता कि वेंड्रा पेट्रोस्की एक्चुअल में है कहाँ. She was absent to receive the applause she deserved. तो पार्ट 2 तो बनता है और पार्ट 2 भी मैं आपको जल्दी शेयर करूँगा, बट लेट अस डिस्कस द क्वेश्चन आंसर्स क्विकली. How is Wanda seen as different by the other girls? How do they treat her? Wanda is like a kind of topic of joke for them, to a character that they can make fun of, and they did not treat her in a very respectable way. They usually thought that she gives funny answers, they find her name funny, so the other student, they don't treat her in a respectable way. How does Wanda feel about the dresses game? We cannot say much how did she feel because she did not show any kind of expression on her face while replying that she has 100 different dresses. And why does she say that she has 100 dresses? That is clear from the drawing competition because she was talking about the 100 different drawings of these dresses that she had. So she was not lying. Other people felt that she was lying, but she was not lying. Why does Maddie stand by and not do anything? Because she is not that courageous. She fears that she will become the next target and people will start making fun of her because she is also poor, but maybe not that poor as Wanda. How is she different from Peggy? Um, First is financial difference, that she is not as rich as Peggy. She wears the hand-me-down clothes that she receives from Peggy, and she seems to be quite understanding. Why was Peggy's friendship important to Maddie? Yes, friendship was very important because, as you know, that she was the most popular girl in the school, and being her best friend is quite special for Maddie. Which lines in the text tell you this? This I leave you as your homework. Find out. She has mentioned about Peggy many times. She has also mentioned that Peggy can never be wrong. She has also uh, helped children who were bullied by other children, and she cannot see any kind of injustice done to pets or animals. What does Miss Mason think of Wanda's drawings? She feels that they are amazing and they have huge potential, and every picture is quite special and has the capability to win the prize. What do the children think of them? They were amazed, they were surprised, they were shocked. How do you know? Because it is obvious they were making fun of Wanda, and now their all mouths are closed.